My uncle runs a hedge fund. And yeah, so
is it a smaller one?
It's a smaller hedge fund. He just started it. So his story's interesting. He worked for a pretty big hedge fund in San Francisco for like a decade, and he didn't go to a big name school. He went to a school called Berea College.
Where's that?
It's in Kentucky. So he's my mom's sister, and
He's your
came
mom's
to college.
sister?
My mom's brother. He's my mom's brother, and he came here in like the early '90s from India, and he went to undergraduate school here.
Did your mom and him come together?
No, my mom went here for graduate school. So
later on,
yeah. So he came here for school, and then he went to Canada, and he was working actually as a software engineer.
So he studied CS?
He didn't study. He actually studied economics and math.
Interesting. How do you, I mean, I guess back
I think he just taught himself coding.
Oh, okay.
But he worked for like software company, and he did exceptionally well, right? And he crushed it, and he made the place he worked for like several millions of dollars, and he was expecting a big bonus, and his employer basically said, "Here, I'll pay for your dinner. Let me take you to a nice restaurant." So he made him millions of dollars, and he offered him a dinner to go to a restaurant.
Wow.
And he was pissed. He was so mad. So he left that job and then decided to figure out what he wanted to do. And he just kind of grinded away and applied. I think he just tried a bunch of things, but he found a hedge fund.
So he tried a bunch of business ideas?
Not necessarily business ideas, but I honestly don't know what he was doing in between like his software job when he left and going to his hedge fund.
Right.
Not the one he runs, the one he first joined. But that wasn't like a long span of time. So he like
years?
Yeah, probably a couple of years. So he applied to this hedge fund, and usually hedge funds, like, they're very elitist in terms of who they hire from. Like, they'll take like a lot of ones just target like Ivy League schools or like Stanford, or they're very elitist. So he didn't have an elitist background, right? Like, he went to
Random school in Kentucky.
like a random school in Kentucky, and like a random business school. But like, he was extremely hardworking. He's extremely smart. It's called Western University. It's like not.
Is it Michigan?
No.
Okay, there's a Western Michigan too.
But anyways, it's not like the Stanford Business School alums that he was competing with, right? So when he first got his offer, he was actually told, like, you can work for us, basically just test out, right? It's like a tryout period, and he had to beat out.
Why did they offer him that chance?
So he sent them a write-up of a company, and he did an analysis on a company, and he sent them his analysis so they could see the way he thinks, and he could see like his level of understanding, right?
I feel like if I were working at a major hedge, or I don't even know how major this hedge fund is, but there's so many applicants coming in from so many big schools, like, why would they even take the time
to read it?
Yeah.
It's
common.
It's not. It wasn't like, it was a big hedge fund, probably worth a couple billion in assets under management. But it's not like a huge name, right? Like, it's the person at, I don't know, the person in the Northeast in an Ivy League school probably hasn't heard of it. Okay, but maybe like schools in the West Coast have heard of it. It's a big hedge fund, and like, I've read books that mention the hedge fund. So that's a good question. I don't exactly know why.
Luck plays a role, I guess.
Luck does play a role, and he says that the person who gave him the shot put him on the map, right? So there's an element of luck there, and he's grateful for the opportunity of having that. But he had to basically beat all the other guys out, right? So he had to beat out the Stanford business school grads, and then they determined like he's the best candidate for the job. So they gave him the offer, and then he rose his way up because he showed he like knew what he was doing, and then he became portfolio manager, which is like the biggest thing. It's what everybody tries to get in a hedge fund.
How long did it take him to get to portfolio?
I think like 6 years.
Okay.
6 years.
So before he was an analyst?
Yeah, he's an analyst at first. I think junior analyst, then analyst, then portfolio manager. That takes a long time. But the firm was crushing it, and then in like 2016, it like took a turn. Like the fund crashed, right?
2016, you said?
2016 around, and it lost a ton of money.
Is there like a reason behind
Yeah,
that?
I mean, it's probably too much risk, too much leverage. They just lost a bunch of money. Right? They didn't have a good year, like 2 really bad years. So my uncle left, and then he started his own fund. So yeah, so
Gotcha.
I definitely have like a lot of access to kind of the process behind this, and the thinking that goes into it, and what they look for. So yeah, definitely. Going back to your original question about like nepotism, if you have connections, there's no reason to not leverage them. If you have people that you know, I mean, mine was really close to me, my uncle, right? But even if you have like friends or a friend of a friend, like if you can leverage connections, I don't see anything wrong with that. I mean,
I agree with
you're
that.
going to maximize the situation you're in, right?
I feel like this world is built on the connections you have.
Yeah, it is.
And just like, that's a skill you can develop as well.
Yeah.
Which will lead you to amazing things in life. So, I think as long as like you internally know that you're not using it as an excuse to not work hard, which I don't think we have that problem here, but in general for an individual, that's a problem I'd say. But besides that, the concept behind it is not bad at all. For your uncle, so 2016 starts, it's 2024, it's been 8 years he's building this. I can imagine he's struggled a lot. Because the biggest question I have, the biggest struggle I'd imagine in starting a hedge fund is getting that initial sponsor.
Yeah.
What was
So
that process like?
my uncle, so there was a period where he started his own hedge fund, but he was mostly just managing his own money, right? And yeah, so he was mostly managing his own money, and there's some stuff I can't say because it's confidential.
Yeah, fair enough.
But he, in terms of like the ins and outs of his fund, but basically what I can say is like he managed his own money, and then he decided he wanted to take external capital, which basically means that you're not just managing your own money, you're taking the money that other people give you to invest. And the benefit of that is you have more access to capital equals more ability to make profits, right? Because you have larger investments and the principle of compounding, you'll make more money, right? So that there's also risk because you don't want to lose other people's money. So he started taking external capital in I believe like early 2020, 2021. No, later than that, like 2022. He started taking external capital, and I mean he could be fundraising a lot more. I mean he could raise a ton of money into his hedge fund, but that's not his primary focus. He just wants to he just wants to like let it ride for a little bit. So yeah, he's a very disciplined guy. Learn a lot from him. Yeah.
Wow, that's an amazing story, man.